Hi, welcome back. Today's class will be focusing on the hips, the groin, and the lower back. Okay, so props you'll need. Have an extra rolled mat. If you don't have an extra rolled mat, have something that's a little firm. We'll be using 2 blocks, 1 bolster, and a chair. Okay, I'm sitting on a blanket. That might be handy, so have a blanket nearby. So let's get started.
Before we start our practice, I wanted to let you know about my online programs and workshops. Whether you're new to Iyengar yoga and want to learn the basics in a systematic way, a seasoned practitioner looking to revisit the essentials, or a yoga teacher seeking inspiration, these programs and workshops are self-paced, allowing you to make consistent progress and revisit specific topics whenever you like. You can find the link in the description below. With that said, let's begin our practice today.
So I'm sitting in Sukhasana. Let's just straighten the legs first. Come into Dandasana. And you're going to bend the right knee, bring the foot back, bring the foot in, and turn the foot so you're on the front of the foot. Let the knee release down, thigh release down. And then bring the other leg back and do the same. So you're crossing the legs right at the shin bone. And I'm turning this bottom foot again. So I'm turning the ankle, releasing. So here, the legs are in line from the center to the center of the body. Okay? Adjust your position so you broaden through the backs of the thighs, broaden through the sitting bones, and adjust so that you feel comfortable to release your knees down. All right, we're going to go into forward Swastikasana. So coming forward, bring your fingertips onto the floor. And with your fingertips pressing into the floor, draw back through the arms, draw back and lengthen the side trunk till you feel more weight in your hips. Keep that weight in your hips as you move forward. So it was easier to feel all the weight in the hips when you were upright. Now here, instead of falling from the hips to the hands, keep the hands pressing so that you can maintain that weight on the hips. And then lengthen forward, walk your hands forward, looking down at your mat. Release the back of the buttock down. Feel the front groin deepening. So not gripping, but deepening. Use the hands pressing, and then come up. Okay, now you're going to have a block. We're going to stay there a little bit. So if the head wasn't going to the floor, I'm sitting on a blanket. If you feel you don't need that blanket, you can take the blanket away now. So spread the buttocks, spread the sitting bones away so you're right on the backs of the thighs. And then coming down once more, I have this block, and I'm going to bring the forehead right between the eyebrows there on that block. Here, I'm opening through the back of the groin, and I'm also deepening through the front of the groin. So just be mindful that you're not gripping. So if you feel that that's gripping and the knees are way up, then take more height to sit on. Okay? So that's one thing that will cause the tightness in the groin if you're not bringing your knees in line with your hips. So release the legs, walk forward, adjust the block, and bring the forehead down. Continue to use the hands and walk the hands forward, extending the side trunk, shoulders moving away from the back of the head. So you don't want to hunch your shoulders, but use the hands. You can even come onto the fingertips. Lengthen the arms, forearms back to the elbows. From the outer arms, move back to the outer shoulders. Let your knees and thighs release down. Let your breath be relaxed and release with your breath. So here you can feel a lot of extension coming across your lower back. Release the abdomen toward the lower back. So you're kind of filling the lower back and broadening it as the abdomen comes back to support it. A few more breaths here. And then take your hands back. Let's change the cross on the legs. So you can straighten the legs again. Bring your left leg back and your right leg. Now you can see there's a difference here. So I want to move this foot forward. And as I turn this foot, I'm releasing the calves and then adjust the position. This time, let's bring the arms up so we get that lift right up through the fingertips. Lower back is lengthening up to the middle back, up to the upper back. And now start to come forward and bring your fingertips onto the floor. Walk forward. We'll just use the block here from the beginning. Before on the other side, we brought the head down. And just maintaining that support of the block. Now this height might be too high for you. You might be able to bring the block down a little bit more, or maybe just bring the head right onto the floor. So take the height that's necessary for you. Observe your breath. I'm going to take a little bit higher, so it's just a little bit more relaxing. So I could hold it the other way, but I felt maybe a little tightening coming in the groin. So draw the outer hips back. Let the front groins deepen, widening and opening through the back groin. As your hips move down toward the floor, aware of your back, broadening through the back. Walk your hands forward as you maintain that descending action with the hips and the buttocks and the thighs. Head is completely resting. Breath is quiet. And then look up. Come up, and you'll take your block away. Okay, now you're going to take your bolster, change the cross on the legs again. Right leg over, left leg over. Take the bolster and bring it right to the abdomen, and you'll use your block. Since this bolster is falling, you're going to use your block and lift up. At this point, you may want to use your blanket to sit a little bit higher. Adjust the hips, release the knees down, bring the abdomen all the way in, lift up over that bolster, and then fold your arms and bring your head down. So with your arms, forearms over one another, the head is a bit lifted, so the nose is not pressing into the bolster. Now, aware of your groin area. It's where the femur bone connects with the pelvis. Let it soften. Release the knees and thighs down. Bring the breath to the back, lower back, middle back. Let the head be heavy so that you're not holding the head up, but you're releasing it down into the arms. Stay with the breath, relax it. And then come up. So when it's really hot, and you've been standing a lot, you have tension in your hips, this is a nice practice to do just to relax the brain. Let the brain go, let that, whatever's on your mind, release, and bring some space to the lower back, space to the hips, the groin, and the pelvis. Okay? Let's change the cross on the legs. So whenever we have one cross of the leg, we do the other side because your hips are connected in different ways. We're not always symmetrical. One side you may have had an injury, or due to some imbalance that you have, it can be different. So always making sure you do both sides. So as I lengthen, the abdomen is against the bolster. And that helps to bring awareness to the lower back, spreading it and widening it. And then bring your head down. Just observe where you might be gripping or holding. Let your knees and thighs release down. Keep your breath relaxed. All right, and then come up. I'm sitting on my knees. My feet are together. And I'm bringing the bolster right up to the abdominal area. So now the abdomen is touching the bolster, and I'm going to bring the abdomen over it, but the way this is going, it's going down. So I'm going to bring a block, 2 blocks, underneath the bolster to make it more in line with my abdomen. And then bring your arms down. So now here, the lower back, the front groin, the hips are all getting that support and that openness. Lengthening as the hips move back. Lengthen the side trunk, release your arms. Stay with your breath. Observe what you feel. Where is any tension in your body? Relax the shoulders. Breathe into the back. You can feel the abdomen against that bolster. So as you breathe, you're able to expand, widen through the rib cage. Any tension in any muscles, breathe into that. Down into the lower back. Down into the hip joint. Observing your front groin. Consciously soften. If it's not softened, you may have to take a little bit more height so that you're not straining. Let's change the cross on the arms now. Keep the thighs moving down. Thighs are heavy. You can feel the back groin at the heel. Let the hips move down as much as you can with each breath. So here you're getting that length and you're getting that softness in a supported way. Take a few more breaths here. Let your head be heavy. And then release, coming up. You're going to put your bolster to your side, to the side. You're going to take the blocks. Walk your hands forward. Press your hands on the blocks. Extend the blocks. You can have the bolster as well if the head is not going to go down. Just using the blocks to extend. Use the bolster to support the forehead. So the arms and the side trunk are lengthening. Hips are drawing back. Lengthen the toes back, the front of the foot, the ankle, shin bone, all moving toward the floor and back, away from your arms. Okay, coming up, take your blocks to the side. And then just move your bolster to the side. You can take your rolled mat now. You'll be coming down with your hands on that bolster. Press the hands into that mat. So we're using a mat so it doesn't move too much because there's traction there between both mats. Press the palms, lengthen the arms back, and now release the head down. Keep the fingers extending, broadening through the hand. Upper arms connecting back, lengthening back to the shoulders. As you draw your hips back, aware of the abdomen now. Earlier you had the abdomen on the bolster. Draw the navel toward the lower back. And lengthen the lower back towards your head side. Where if there's any gripping in the front of the groin, bring your awareness there, soften. And then release. Come back up. You can move that to the side. Now you're going to sit in Upavistha. So you'll sit center of your mat and bring your inner heels to the front edge of your mat. Adjust the legs, adjust the groin. And now you're going to take your bolster again. Have the bolster in front of you. You may need a blanket, depending on how much height you need. So be aware, again, we're going to let the abdomen lengthen over the abdomen. If you need to raise this up a little bit, you could even raise one end of it. So it's more like a slant, like a plane taking off from the bottom to the top. So depending on whether you need that blanket or not, you could always fold the blanket again. Or if you don't have a bolster, just use several folded blankets. But keep the blanket or the bolster down by the abdomen so you're lifting up over. The abdomen's not getting dragged down. Keep the feet long. Now for me, I don't need that extra, so I'm going to take the blanket and use that support for my head. So I'll bring my forehead here. Actually, I'm going to keep the chin lengthening first, taking my hands on my feet. If you don't reach the feet, you can have your hands on your ankles. So the thighs are descending down. The whole back of the leg is moving toward that mat. So you can start to feel, when you feel the mat, you can feel your calf, the back of your knee, your thigh. And then release the head. Keep the toes active, spreading the toes, extending from the inner heel to the inner, or the inner ankle to the inner heel on both legs, maintaining that extension to lengthen the legs, and then maintaining that extension. If you need to move that bolster down, lengthen the abdomen forward. If you've gained a little bit of length, then you can take hold of the feet and bring your forehead down. Head of the femur bone moving down, broadening the backs of the thighs, back of the groin. So these postures are very cooling postures. Just let your breath be relaxed, soft, slow, and smooth. While you continue to keep the legs active without gripping. You have the bolster there. You can feel if you're tightening the abdomen. So breathe into the abdomen. Release any tension. Tension in the lower back. Stay for a few more breaths. So notice if your head is completely surrendering into that support. This will affect your neck, your eyes, your throat. Breathing into softness. Release your legs. Bring your hands onto the floor. Inhale, lift up. Okay, now we're going to come up. We're going to get a chair. So you can get your chair and just put it right on your mat. We'll use the chair to go into Paschimottanasana, which is also a forward bend, in which that groin is deepening a bit. Okay? So get your chair. You're going to sit on the chair, and you'll bring your hips all the way into the chair, and the legs on the inner side of the chair leg. Okay, so you're sitting all the way to the back of the chair, front groin, back groin opening, and then you'll lengthen like you did with that bolster. Walk forward with your hands and just release your hands down. You can take your hands on the chair legs. Now, as you come forward, keep the hips down. So the tailbone, top of the buttock moving down. You can feel the weight on the backs of the thighs. Keep your elbows bent and release your head down. You can feel the abdomen on the thighs. Observe your breath. Let the head release, neck release. Take your hands on the floor. Take your heels on the outer side of the chair. Press the feet down and release yourself down any amount, keeping the hips on that chair. If you can take the back rail, take the back rail. If not, then just stay with that first position. You can bring the fingertips on the floor and release the head. You can take the back rail, holding the back rail. Release the back body downward toward the chair seat, broadening. And then we'll come up, bring your hands back onto the floor, back onto your knees, come back and sit upright. Okay, so surprise, surprise, we're going to use one more chair. So I've brought another chair. The chair seat is facing me. I'm going to take my legs back inside the chair. And from here, I'm going to turn. So this is a pavrita action, a turning action. Keep my hips and thighs grounded on that chair and start to extend both of my arms. So I'm getting a nice stretch through the lower back here, through the middle back, and move your arms away until you can finally rest your head. So you have to adjust the chair so it's going to be the right length. So you're getting as much extension as you can. Keep the feet, thighs descending. Rest your head. You can also take your arms on the chair, extend the arms, and rest the head down. Just watch for any tension in the groin. Extend, opening that front groin. Using the breath, coming into those places where you feel any tension. And then release. We'll come to the other side. Okay, I've moved the chair to the other side, so you can do that. Move the bolster to the other side. Readjust your position in the chair. So you want to keep the pelvis as stable as possible. It will lift a little bit. It may turn a little bit, but your main idea is that you're getting that turning action, and you have the chair far enough away that you can use it to support you and lengthen. So bringing the head down. This hip wants to lift up, so move that hip down. Extend through the back, extend through the side trunk. As you bring your head down, be there for a few breaths. Observe if there's anywhere there's a lot of tension coming. Soften there. And then take your arms on the chair. Extend the chair away from you. So with that extension, with moving that chair, you're getting more length, more space. Arms are long. Arms are also supported along with the head. Continue to observe your breath. Keep the breath relaxed. And then coming up, use your hands on the bolster. Come up. So you're going to come up now. Take your chairs away. You can have your bolster. So bring your bolster onto your mat. You can use a blanket for underneath the hips. So fold your blanket. You can sit on the blanket. I have a thin blanket, so if that's not high enough, you can always take a little bit more height. To support that softness of the groin there. And then you're going to bring your legs in Dandasana, but separate the legs. So keep the legs wide. Have the bolster there. You can have a block so that the bolster's not falling. And you can have an additional block for your head. So this is one way you can bring the bolster and lay back over the bolster this way. So your back groin is opening, front groin, relax there, and then lengthening through the abdomen like we did before. Or you can take the bolster to the side, and you can take the blocks further out. We'll do this twice, first with the feet wide, and then we'll bring the feet closer together. So extend the heels, move the thighs down, lower back spreading. Use the arms on the bolster, lift up so the whole front body is lengthening. And then depending on where your depth is, how far you come down, bring your arms onto the bolster first, and just bring your head down. So adjusting the bolster. And now straightening the arms. Walk the hands away. Support the head on the bolster. Keep the thighs descending down. So the legs are active, kneecaps are tight. Outer thighs are lengthening back to the outer hips. From the inner heel, lengthen back to the inner leg. And now, fold your arms, rest your head. Just stay there, relaxing the breath. Let your head release completely. The heaviness of the head moving down into the arms. Relax your shoulders, Relax your throat. Relax your inner mouth. Maintain the length through the backs of the legs as the thighs descend down toward the mat. We'll come up now. Lift your head. Come off your blanket. And you can take your blocks away. And now you're going to take that bolster and bring your pelvis onto the bolster. So you're lengthening the buttocks away, coming down. Bring your shoulders onto the floor. Release your shoulders, and then extend the legs. As you extend the legs, start to open the front of the groin. You can take the legs wider, so you have a little bit of space. If it's too low for your legs, you can bring blocks underneath the heels to raise the legs up. Making that space across the pelvis, making that expanse through the abdominal area. So your hips are at the highest point where the groin is. So now the groin is completely opening. Come back to the breath. Extend the legs. Release the shoulders down. But at the same time, maintain the lift of the chest. So as you're in this Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, your shoulders are down, the back of the head is on the floor, chest is lifted, as well as the pelvis. The legs are descending, so the thighs moving downward. Coming back to the breath, relax the breath. Aware of what you feel. Aware of that opening that you're getting. And then bend the knees. Slide off the bolster. Bring your hips onto the floor. And move your head away. So the whole upper body is lengthening away from your hips. Adjust the bolster so that when you bend the knees, you can relax the legs, relax the groin, but it's completely supported. Lying down for Savasana. Feeling the outer sides of the feet on the floor like they were in the first pose that we did, Swastikasana. Now here the body is completely opening. The abdominal area is able to extend and to soften downward toward the lower back. Stay with the breath. I'll set a timer for you. So in this relaxed state, you can stay. Stay with your breath. Exhale. Namaste.